Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to today's session on achieving food security and climate resilience, learnings from sustainable agriculture initiatives. To begin our session, I would first like to invite Ms. Martina Amdahl-Botheim, Minister Counselor, Royal Norwegian Embassy in New Delhi, along with Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is not here in person, but he'll be joining us online. Along with our first panel of speakers, Dr. A.K. Nayak, Dr. Rengalakshmi, and Dr. H.K. Sahu, I would request all for you to please proceed towards the dais. Ms. Martina is the Embassy's Minister Counselor and Deputy Head of Mission. She brings with her extensive experience from the ministry, having worked in the legal department as well as Department for Multilateral Affairs. Prior to her posting in New Delhi, Ms. Martina was a deputy director in the UN section. She served as the deputy head of mission in Australia and worked at the Norwegian delegation to NATO in Brussels. I would request Ms. Martina to please deliver a welcome address.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mr. Vijay Kumar Follu, India lead, partners from Follu and Nibio's resilience project, colleagues and friends. It is really my pleasure to open this important thematic session of the WSDS 2023. I am so glad to see that the work of two sustainable agriculture initiatives will be presented and discussed here today. Norwegian Institute for Bioeconomy Research, NIBIO, and its Indian partners are demonstrating that climate resilience of small farmers can be built by adopting sustainable agriculture practices in the states of Assam and Odisha. NIBIO is supported by the Embassy of Norway. And the Food and Land Use Coalition, FOLU, promotes better food and land use practices towards a healthy diet for a growing population and is supported by Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative. At the COP26 in November 2021, Norway pledged to double its climate finance to developing countries by 2026. This includes a commitment to at least triple funding for climate change adaptation in line with the Paris Agreement. And I'm very happy to note that we are actually delivering on our pledge. Two Norwegian strategies have been launched recently. The strategy for climate change, hunger, and vulnerability was launched only last week, and it lays the foundation for intensified Norwegian efforts to assist vulnerable societies in adapting to climate change. The strategy identifies priority focus areas and tools for enhancing climate change adaptation, including disaster risk reduction and the fight against hunger. The Norwegian International Development Minister, Anne Beate Tvinnereim, released Norway's strategy for promoting food security in development policy last year. This strategy highlights the importance of increased income for small-scale farmers. It also emphasizes that there is a great potential for more effective climate adaptation if small-scale producers are organized. We know that climate change often affects women far more severely than men due to differences in their socially constructed roles and responsibility. And Norway will seek to ensure that women are consulted and that women are allowed to participate on an equal footing with men in the planning and in the implementation of projects. So I really look forward to hearing more on those details as well today. Because of climate change, small farmers in India will face a big transformation in the coming years. They will have to manage a transition to green business as well as increased digitalization. And they will have to produce food for an ever increasing population. The world's small-scale farmers hold the key to sustainable food production. But they will need knowledge, technology, and investments, and they need access to local markets. So I really look forward to hearing how Follow and Nibio's work will support Indian farmers in this transformation. Thank you.
Norwegian Embassy strategy. I would now request Mr. Vijay Kumar to kindly address the session with the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here in this thematic track. Unfortunately, I can't be there in person, but my best wishes to everyone. And let me thank Ms. Martine Botheim for her very informative opening remarks. And to the other panelists, my greetings. We all know that Indian agriculture is facing multiple challenges, and the SDGs clearly bring out the three main dimensions of the challenge in terms of the environmental, economic, and social dimensions. While India has made huge advances in agriculture and has achieved food security for a very large population, it has come at a cost in terms of the environmental and ecological stresses that many areas in the country currently face. On the other hand, while the advances in agriculture, including the Green Revolution, have certainly increased rural incomes and, of course, brought about food security, many challenges remain and indeed may have become more acute in the process. Both irrigated and rain-fed areas face challenges, often in quite different forms. And I think Ms. Botheim has rightly pointed out the problems particularly faced by smallholder farmers and women. On the social and economic front, these challenges relate to incomes and livelihoods, nutrition, health, and well-being, and most importantly, in the Indian context, social equity. As if these challenges are not enough, climate change has brought in an entirely new dimension in terms of the need to build resilience and reduce vulnerability to climate risks. India and much of the tropical world actually faces climate change risks in ways that perhaps the temperate regions have not adequately understood. The higher temperatures of the tropics actually make sudden onset events much more likely, much more severe, and bring about much more destruction. But much of the dialogue actually, as an underlying theme, tends to focus more on slow onset events. And I think the context, in the context of sustainable agriculture, there has to be a factoring in both of the slow onset and sudden onset events. Current land systems actually are not geared up to meeting the environmental, economic, and social dimensions of the challenges. And there are huge hidden environmental, health, and poverty costs associated with the way the current systems operate. Some of these costs are not evident, but they are there, and they need to be actually analyzed and computed. FOLU in 2019 estimated the global costs to be of the order of $12 trillion a year. FOLU India is based on the Indian situation, is advocating several critical transitions to bring about economic and social improvements. And it's part of a large framework which addresses the Indian agriculture condition in its entirety, given the diversity of agriculture in the Indian context, from east to west and north to south. The transitions that FOLU India advocates include promoting healthy and sustainable diets, ensuring productive and sustainable and regenerative agriculture, promoting integrated farming systems oriented towards meeting food and nutritional needs. And this is particularly important in the context of unirrigated areas and areas where sustenance farming is practiced, improving biodiversity, reducing food loss and waste, and protecting and restoring natural resource systems, and follows working towards achieving these multiple goals through projects on the ground. And I hope this session, which showcases the two sustainable agriculture initiatives, one in Odisha, as mentioned by Councillor Minister, and the other by Follow India in 4 states, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. I hope these will be informative and useful to the audience. These and similar initiatives actually need to be studied, analyzed, and continuously innovated upon as part of a sustainable scaling up process to address the challenges facing Indian agriculture today. And I hope that the studies that are being presented today will add not only to the large volume of examples available, but will help move the argument forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vijay sir. And for those who have joined the room recently, Mr. S. Vijay Kumar is the India country lead of FOLU and is a distinguished fellow in the TERI. He has served for over 35 years in the government, both in the state of Himachal Pradesh and in central government, and in various ministries like Environment, Mines, Ministry of Rural Development, where he served as the secretary of the ministry till his retirement in 2013. He joined TERI as a distinguished fellow in 2013, and there he convenes the committee of distinguished fellows who coordinate the public policy and SDG work. He has also been a member of the United Nations Environment International Resource Panel since 2015. Now we will begin with our first set of presentations, which is by the NIBIO team, who will be talking about the Resilience Initiative, which aims to build climate resilience among Indian smallholders through sustainable intensification and agroecological farming systems to strengthen food and nutrition security. So I would request Dr. A.K. Nayak to please go ahead with this presentation. And Dr. A.K. Nayak assumed the charge. He's a director of ICAR, National Rice Research Institute, Odisha. He assumed the charge as director in 2022. He holds a PhD in soil science and agricultural chemistry. And during 25 years of his research career, he has worked on problems related to soil management, water quality mapping, modeling, carbon sequestration, and nutrient management, among others. He is also elected as a fellow of National Academy of Sciences, India, fellow to the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, and fellow of Indian Society of Soil Science, and fellow of Association of Rice Researcher Workers. I would like to welcome Dr. Nayak to please present.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all of you, delegates on the dais, Vijay Kumarji. So I am here to present the resilience experience that we have gathered in the state of Odisha. I think my co-panelists, they will be sharing some additional information which they are having. As we know that Indian agriculture is in the transition state. We have the country has been achieved food security since last few years, and now we need to address the nutritional security and the income security and environmental security. That is the objective. And in the context of climate change, how you can bring the resilience. I will not go to detail about the resilience project objective, which we have done there. So here to study the vulnerability assessment, agroecological resource mapping, carry out the social inclusive farmer-led climate smart agricultural initiative, and develop evidences so that evidence-based decision and policy can be taken, and to develop demand-driven and gender-sensitive knowledge system, and farmer-to-farmer learning was the main objective of this project. So the vulnerability assessment at present in India, we are having the vulnerability map at a district level, a higher level vulnerability map. Sometimes it is difficult at a district level, block level and village level to take initiatives. So we have tried to develop the vulnerability map at a block level so that the decision can be taken there. And similarly, the variety, climate resilient variety is one of the important aspects. We know the intensity of a flood, drought, and high temperature is increasing, and Odisha is one of the state. Every alternative year, we do have some kind of natural disaster. So our institute and under this project, we have introduced several tolerant, climate resilient varieties, drought tolerant, flood tolerant, drought and both flood tolerant variety, and other abiotic stress. Incidents of insect pest and disease management has already gone a transformative change in the context of climate change. So some of the varieties we have developed, they are tolerant to many insect pest and diseases, those who are introduced, and they have given additional yield and income to the farmers in the both the period of normal years of rainfall and natural disaster, and even in the disaster year also. Similarly, the another aspect, the direct seeded rice, DSR, is one of the technology that has been accepted by the IPCC, is one of the emission reducing technology. And because of the amendment of energy bill in 22, Government of India Energy Bill amendment, now the farmers are having opportunity to gain the carbon credit through carbon farming. And this is DSR has been accepted as one of the technology through which farmer can get the carbon credit. That we have tested the various form of DSR with alternative wetting drying and compared with the conventional transplanted and flooded rice. And we have seen the added advantage of dry seeded rice with respect to water productivity, with respect to nutrient use efficiency, energy productivity, and at the same time also GHG emission. Global warming potential also reduced when we are going for a direct seeded rice with alternative wetting drying compared to the flooded rice and farmer practices. Similarly, the diversification is one of the important options. Many of, in particular Odisha, where we are having this intervention, more than 20% of area is upland area where the yield of rice is less than 1 ton per hectare, and those area requires to be diversified to the pulses and oil seed crops. And so in Kharif season as well as Rabi season, there is a need for diversification. Several options of diversification we have tested: rice, sunflower, rice, maize, green gram. And those diversification, we have gathered the data, and it is having higher energy efficiency, water productivity, nutrient use efficiency, and reduction of global warming potential. So one of the technology is the DSR, direct seeded rice, and the diversification. Ecology specific diversification is one of the important aspect. Again, nutrient management, we know the Government of India is incurring huge contribution to the your fertilizer subsidy, and the subsidy level has reached to the level of unsustainability, and at the same time this has created an environmental problem. So we have introduced different innovative nutrient management techniques that we have seen. Through the intervention of these techniques, how we can reduce nitrous oxide emission, methane emissions, and overall global warming potential, it can be reduced. So again, water is one of the important aspects when we are talking about resilience. Without addressing this sector, we cannot achieve the degree of resilience. So several water management techniques, simple water management technique like alternative wetting drying, who does not need much investment. Three, tensiometric but irrigation practices, even micro irrigation, those are tested, and the evidence were gathered that they are having added advantage, and the farmer also they are adopting, and many of the government schemes that those who are being run by this state government, and this project linked our farmers with those state government initiative, and the farmers are taking the benefit of these water smart technologies. Similarly, the digital agriculture is going to be the matter of the day for the farmers, because several digital platform learning from farmer to farmer learning, as well as bypassing the conventional extension system through line department, the farmers can get access through these apps which we have developed and demonstrated. And some of the apps have been aggregated in a single platform so that the solutions can be delivered to the farmer. Now every farmers are having the mobile phone, so they can access these informations. Similarly, on some of the initiative and other things, my co-panelists, they will be, those have been generated through this project, they will be delivering. And impact, if we, some analysis we have done, small and farmers, they have improved their livelihood and improved farmers' participation in the local institute that we have seen, and improved women participation that have been gathered, the information gathered, and these informations have been shared with the state government line department so that they can include in their planning. Similarly, we have tried to see that with the introduction of these agricultural initiative, how much resilience has been increased in those areas. So we have developed a resilience index, a cumulative index, through which we can measure at the baseline level what was the resilience, and towards the end of the project how much resilience was there. So we have seen the resilience was enhanced in those intervened area. Coming to these are the okay. Again, we have tried to integrate the this project with the government initiative. So we have developed a model climate smart village, farmer to farmer seed village, because without this village institution, so no resilience initiative will be successful. Again, our recommendations that has find a place in state action plan on climate change, and the experience that they have been documented through several publications, infographics, and that has been shared with the line department. Again, for upscaling, we have from our the lessons which we have learned, we have prepared upscaling plan, and we have shared with the state government. And through this project also, currently two districts we are having our project, and now that has been upscaled to another 2 districts. And for further upscaling, our upscaling plan has been shared with the state government. With this, I think I will conclude my presentations, and I think the rest of the things my co-panelists will be presenting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nair. I would now request Dr. Rengalakshmi to talk further about the initiative. Dr. Rengalakshmi is a development researcher come field level practitioner with a doctoral degree in agriculture. She has over 20 years of experience working in agriculture and natural resource sectors. She works on technologies, institutions, and policies in the science-society interface with the broader areas of sustainable livelihoods, gender, and climate change. She has evaluated several developmental programs implemented by civil society partners in South Asia and served as trainer for community, developmental professionals, and policymakers. And I would also request our following speakers to please wrap it up in about 5 minutes, as we are limited by time constraints. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And further to Dr. Nayak presentation, we are working in Orissa in 2 districts. One is Cuttack, another one is Ganjam. In both the sites, knowledge management is a cross-cutting areas. So several climate adaptation technologies have been promoted in both the sites. Being a cross-cutting theme, knowledge management and gender, we facilitated in the program. So the key approaches we adopted is basically the project envisages farmer to farmer learning process. And here we developed and facilitated field champions, the lead farmers who promoted the adaptation technologies, fine-tuned to that local context, because that process is a crucial process for farmers' adoption. So that we have facilitated. And second, establishment of the community-based knowledge management platform in the form of village knowledge centers. MSSRF has been pioneering in this aspect, and we fine-tune models in several states. So that aspect is replicated here and facilitated through organizations like Gram Panchayat Union or KVKs or farmer producer organization. So in different sites, depending upon the local infrastructure available as well as the community-based organizations, we facilitated this program. And third one is close interaction with the farmers using different digital tools. Frequent connection as well as exchange facilitation among the farmers facilitate the enhancement of knowledge and translating those knowledge into practice. Then that process is very crucial. And in that, much of the small farmers, especially women farmers, given the context of male moving out of agriculture sector, women farmer play a major role in management aspect too. So for that, we need to have a kind of a collective learning process, that how we can facilitate using these infrastructures. Then the fourth one is bringing backward and forward linkages. There are n number of technologies, but for the farmers to adopt those technologies, the linkages are very crucial. So how the platform can be facilitate the linkages. Then finally, the upscaling initiatives, and we tried the upscaling initiatives right now with the KVKs located across district level in Odisha. And these are all the crucial services we facilitate through this ICT platform. One is access to sustainable agriculture practices using plant clinics or soil testing kind of thing. Then access to agriculture extension services. Again, it is farmer-centric extension services, how we can promote using ICT technologies. Early warning systems, especially climate information, both medium range weather forecast as well as extreme events, how we can disseminate those knowledge as well as the remedial measures. Access to market information, government schemes, especially when we promote any technology, if there are government schemes, then the adoption rate we can facilitate in that process. Then knowledge empowerment around the technology upgradation process. Then access to financial services, especially risk management measures like insurance. And this is an example of the plant clinics, one farmer-centric approach, which this is conducted in the village level. So women farmers also easily come to the center with the affected plant samples and learn how it should be addressed. And earlier they depend only on the chemical agro input dealers who are located in the respective field size. But now, due to that knowledge, they could able to negotiate and change the practices. And recently, the online plant clinics were also introduced, and there are challenges in this, but still we are facilitating the local youth to train the farmers in using smartphones and bring to their next level. And these are all some of the affected samples because pest and disease play a major role in agriculture production. So addressing that itself playing a major role in sustainable agriculture practices. And this is the key result through which we can see, especially the cultural and physical practices. The adoption rate is very high, followed by biocontrol, then chemical pesticides, and the resistant varieties were also, because the resistant varieties change, it is taking time, but still the other practices are coming. But the changes we can see is, one is a shift in the practices towards IPM. Otherwise, operationalizing sustainable agriculture practices in the field among smallholders take time. Then important aspect is reduction in input cost because of the usage of right quantity of inputs. Then improved negotiation skills, then women farmers participation. These we can see as a kind of key results in our program. This is another tool which facilitated in the remote areas where collective learning process is the key in increasing their knowledge level. Other tools like audio-based tools, and these are all the results from 1 year. We can see how many number of farmers we are reaching, and in that quite interestingly, women farmers participation, we could able to make change here. And again the mainstreaming initiatives, and some of the frequently asked questions were converted into a kind of booklets, and it is in the common domain for them to reach at any point of time. Even for the subject matter specialists from KVKs are also using this as a kind of base to suggest. So now we are in the upscaling stage. In the upscaling stage, we are coordinating with KVKs in the state department, State Agriculture University as well as NRRI. So in those districts, using different tools, the dissemination aspects, especially the climate adaptation technologies, which we have promoted in the 2 sites, have been extended. And along with that, as Martina said, we promoted the collectives, the farmer collectives, especially for the smallholders to access any resources, especially input as well as the output marketing. We need some kind of a collective approach. So in both the sites, we promoted farmer collectives, and collectives are now taking forward the knowledge center as well as the initiatives which we promoted in the form of different technologies. And this is the overall project results till Kharif 22, we estimated. In that, awareness has been increased. This project is working both in Orissa and as well as Assam. And in Orissa, you can see the difference between the control as well as the intervention, and especially the women farmers' participation in household decision making as well as the farm management. We could able to see the changes. And this is part of the upscaling process. In the upscaling process, different digital tools we promote for the knowledge management. But depending upon the local situation, KVKs are choosing 1 or 2 tools initially. Now we are in the process of continuously building their capacities. In conclusion, basically the point is shift in extension approach. That is a farmer-centric approach is necessary for them to adopt any technologies. And digital tools as the good platform to reach them as well as get timely information. Then engaging the farmers in the process play a major role in bringing ownership as well as having confidence on the information or technology which we are facilitating from outside. Then the collective actions that play a crucial role among smallholders. Then finally, the multiple strategies are necessary, and continuous engagement with them help us to clarify doubts, getting trust, and proceed further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rengalakshmi. I would now like to invite Dr. H.K. Sahu, who is the principal co-investigator of the Resilience Project. He has over 35 years of experience in teaching, research, and extension, and holds a doctoral degree in integrated farming system. He also has over 19 years of experience of working with KVKs and is presently associated with Resilience Project and Farmer First Project.
Respected dignitaries on the dais and of the dais, Vijay Kumar, which has joined online. I am presenting the activities, Resilience Project activities undertaken by Orissa University of Agriculture and Technology, Odisha. The project is operational in Ganjam district, Kandhamal district, and Noyagod district. Initially, it was started in Ganjam district in 2 areas, one dryland areas and one is waterlogged areas. Now the project is operational in Kandhamal, Noyagod, and Ganjam district. This is the broad objectives of the project, which has been told by Dr. Naik. We have introduced the climate resilient rice varieties, short duration varieties for drought prone areas, and long duration varieties like Swarna Saban, Hasant, M2 1061, 1091, Kola Chambar Pradhan, M2 1065. These are the photographs of rice varieties we have taken. We have conducted a demonstration on integrated nutrient management in rice, in which we have introduced green manuring with dhanicha, use of leaf color chart, and liquid nitrogen fertilizers. We have introduced cauliflower during off-season, especially in Kharif, in Kandhamal cluster. We have introduced polymulching in vegetables, especially in chili and brinjal. We have introduced trellis system, plastic net for enhance the yield of especially cucumber beets. We have also diversified the especially upland rice to maize, cowpea, ragi, sweet corn, especially in rice fallows. We have conducted the integrated pest management in rice, vegetables. These are the interventions: solar light trap, sticky trap, pheromone trap. We have also produced different rice seeds under seed village program, where we have produced Swarna Shreya, Swarna Saban, Sahabhagidan, Hassan, M2 1061. During 1920, we have produced 106 quintals, and 22-23, 206.5 quintals. This is one of the livelihood activities, mushroom production, this particularly paddy straw mushroom. We are more focused on integrated farming system to reduce the vulnerability to climate, and more focus on utilization of famine labor. Also, we have introduced agroforestry to reduce the vulnerability to climate change. Income generating activity like backward poultry, honeybee, vermicomposting. Other activities like Ajula production, raised community nursery, nutritional garden for nutritional security of the farm family. Agro service, we have established agro service center in 2 clusters, Bhanjanagar and Rangailunda cluster. The revenue generated by the service center, this is last year data. We have made about 35 capacity building programs during the span of 4 years. Also, we have done the plant health screening in convergence with the MSSRF. We have conducted district level workshop in each cluster, Ganjam, Kandhamal, and Nayagaon cluster. This is the stakeholder advisory committee meeting we have conducted last year. We have conducted 2 stakeholder advisory meetings, also 1 national level review workshop. 2 research papers have been generated from the project activities. These are the booklets which have been published in Odia and distributed to project farmers. These are the print media coverage, specifically in Odia language, for knowledge of the farmers. Upscaling activity, first, during 2018, the project is operational at Shoroda and Longanutramana only in 4 villages. Now it has been upscaled, and during 2018, we have done the activities in around 15 to 20 hectares. Now it has been upscaled to around 400 hectares. This year we have planned to establish 1 solar village in Ganjam to our Barampur cluster, where we will introduce the solar equipments during March. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu and entire NIBIO team for introducing us to the Resilience project and giving us an insightful presentation. I'm sure our delegates would have a lot of questions about it, but I would request you to please hold your questions for some more time as we plan to conduct the Q&A session after completing all the presentations. I would now request our second panel of speakers, who is from the FOLU team, to proceed towards the dais, and would request the first panel to please join the audience. So I would also request Ms. Beth Langsett to please join us with the FOLU team. So we have Mr. Soni RK, who is manager with the FOLU India, and his primary responsibility is managing the FOLU India Sustainable and Rain-Fed Agriculture Program, and he works closely with the FOLU partners. Sorry. And Soni has recently submitted his final thesis for his PhD in Conservation Science and Sustainability Studies at Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment and Manipal Academy of Higher Education. We have Ms. Nandini Agarwal from CEEW. She is a program associate at the Sustainable Food System team at the CEEW. She is a young professional who has been exploring and engaging in the food system space since 2015. She is also a part of the Global Youth Climate Network cohort of the World Bank. For the last 2 years, she has been working with the Council and contributing to the Regenerative Agriculture project under the FOLU program. We have Dr. Manish Anand, who is a senior fellow at the TERI. He has more than 16 years of experience in policy research, advocacy, and capacity building, encompassing diverse areas of agriculture, food and land use, resource use and efficiency, and emerging technologies. His research and policy analysis work currently focuses on generating evidence, strategies, and methodologies based on systems thinking approaches towards sustainable food and land use, including sustainable agriculture practices, natural resource use, rural livelihoods, human health and nutrition, and climate change. We have Dr. Ruchika Singh, who is the Director of Sustainable Landscapes and Restoration Program at World Resources Institute, India. She provides strategic leadership, research guidance, and develops institutional partnerships to mobilize action, support more robust monitoring, and develop pathways to transition towards sustainable food and land use systems in India. She brings almost 2 decades of extensive experience spread across grassroots level participatory program implementation to policy research, strategy development, and project management. We have Dr. Jayhari KM, who is the country coordinator of Food and Land Use Coalition India. He has worked in different capacities in institutions like Kerala Forest Research Institute, WWF India, Winrock International, focusing on natural resource management and biodiversity conservation. Prior to his current role at FOLU, he played an instrumental role in building some spatial databases in India, like India Observatory at the Foundation of Ecological Society and Restoration Opportunity Atlas at WRI India. We also have Ms. Beth Langseth, who is the Counselor of Climate and Environment at the Norwegian Embassy in New Delhi. And she has worked in India for over a year and is currently loving it. Her original position is in Norwegian Environment Agency, where she is coordinating export and import of waste to Norway, following up the Basel Convention and Hong Kong Convention on illegal shipments of waste. Over to the FOLU team to please go ahead with the presentation.
Thanks, Parul. A very good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming in this afternoon. Thanks very much for the NBO supported program, Resilience Project, which was presented by Dr. Naik and his team. And I heard a lot about the work, especially the plant clinics and the knowledge centers, and it's great to know more detail about this. Thanks so much for that. And today we have the FOLU team, FOLU coalition, working on what we call as FOLU India Sustainable Agriculture Initiative. What we already heard is a kind of advanced project from the resilience team, which is in the implementation stage. Unlike that, the FISAI is in the planning stage, and we are moving towards implementation in the second phase, which will be starting in this year. So what I'm going to do is give a broad introduction to what FOLU does and how what is the operational framework under which you operate the FOLU India Sustainable Agriculture Initiatives. And my colleagues from the partner organization, they will give the details of the work, what they do in different landscapes. Coming to FOLU, the Food and Land Use Coalition, we are a group of change makers globally who are interested in transforming the food and land use system. And especially as Mr. Vijay Kumar already mentioned, when FOLU did an analysis in 2019, we published as a report, which is Growing Better report. We realized that there is a lot of economic costs in the way we practice agriculture and where we use agriculture and land use systems. So this is a kind of understanding around the world that there is a need for transformation, a kind of food system transformation that needs to be sustainable, just, and inclusive. And FOLU works towards that. And we have a core partners globally, which includes World Resources Institute, which is our global secretariat, and organizations like AGRA, GAIN, Systemic, and all constitute our global partner group. And we have country platforms. We have an India country platform. Like that, we have country platforms in China, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and so on. And we have associated country support teams in the Nordics and also in UK and Australia. We also work, another leg of FOLU is FOLU ambassadors. They are experts from the sector and they're from different parts of the world. They join us in helping our agenda towards food system transformation. FOLU India, we have a broader vision to have a nutritionally secure and healthy India. And we also thinking what are the best ways possible, how we should work towards transforming food and land use system in India. And we are broadly working towards that. The core partners in India is constitute of 4 organizations. 3 think tanks based in Delhi, Council on Environment, Energy and Water, and the Energy and Resources Institute, WRA India. WRA India is the secretariat for FOLU in India. And we have a grassroots organization called Revitalizing Rainfed Agriculture Network, or RRAN Network, which is a group of 500 plus odd organization, who are working in different parts of India towards making the rainfed agriculture sustainable and economically viable. Other than that, these core partners, we have representation from FABLE Consortium, which is Forest, Agriculture, Biodiversity, Land Use and Energy, which is a global consortium convened by FOLU global team. In India, IIM Ahmedabad is the lead, and they are also become a part of Indian FOLU team. And we have recently launched an action coalition which to work towards sustainable trade, which consists of the institutes like CRB, Center for Responsible Business, WWF, and IDH. Coming to the focus of today's discussion. So we have started working in India in 2019, and we started working specifically focusing on the production sector in agriculture. And now we are exploring our ways into different pillars in agriculture sector, that is to nutrition, and also looking at natural climate solutions, how that will be help in climate mitigation and transforming agriculture into sustainable one. So under the FISAI, that is Follow India Sustainable Agriculture Initiative, we have two flagship programs. These two programs have same principles, but different kind of approaches. So we have one which is focused in Madhya Pradesh. We work along with WR India there, which is the sustainable agriculture through synergized policy and action, where we work with the government of Madhya Pradesh. We have an MOU with the government there, and we are trying to work with the government in 4 districts and see how a government-led transformation into sustainable and regenerative agriculture is possible. Here, the government is doing the main work. What we are doing is we are supporting technical support and other kind of support we are giving the background. And the another program is following the Sustainable Rainfed Agriculture Program, which is in 3 landscapes, 3 states, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and in Maharashtra. Here we work with the community. Basically, we are not bringing any new practices here, but we work with the community. We are trying to learn from them and understand what are the practices going on, because in what we realize that in many parts of India, all of us know there are different kinds of sustainable practices are going on. We want to take it and bring our own expertise into that and try to implement in the next coming 3 years and see how best that is working. So when we do this in 3 landscape, our focus is 2 village councils or Gram Panchayat, and we are expecting in the next 3-4 years, these are small 2-3 dots in different parts of India. This will be taken up by, that model will be taken up by the civil society organizations and different community-led organizations, and that we could see a spread of such practices across India, at least in different sports, in different similar agroecological zones. That is a broader thinking what we have under FISAI. So I mentioned that we have same principle for both these programs. When we start talking about the term sustainable agriculture, then it become little confused one, or a little bit controversial one, because there are different terminologies what we use. We use sustainable agriculture, and at Follow we use sustainable and regenerative agriculture, and there are different terms like organic farming, natural farming, and so on. And now we have National Mission on Natural Farming is coming. So we thought that there need a clarity on this and how this can be aligned with the existing policy frameworks. That is the National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, and we have the Dalwai Committee report on doubling farmers' income. So we have mapped and we envisage the transformation into food system level. It's a farm to food system approach, where the specific focus will be at the farm level, changing the existing agriculture practices into more sustainable and regenerative one, which will move to the next stage, where we can try scaling up these agroecological practices or the sustainable and regenerative agriculture practices. And at the same time, what we also realize that, when you move to sustainable and regenerative agriculture, which needs a lot of supporting system, which is not existing, and especially in a large scale transformation, this needs to be established, and that kind of supporting system will happen on the other hand, and along with the environmental and ecological sustainability activities, or improving the ecosystem services in the landscapes where we operate. So this is the broad 5 steps, which we call as the sustainable and regenerative agriculture framework, where we move from the farm level to adopting a food system approach. And if you look at the left and right columns, you will see that the DFI dimensions, which is existing suggestion to the government of India, and the NMSA 10 principle, which also matches with the regenerative agriculture transformation pathway. So in one sense, what we are trying to say is that while we use these different terms, there is already an alignment with the government thinking, and now we are keenly looking forward how the national mission on natural farming will be turning out, and I'm sure that this also will be aligned with the work what we are doing. So that is important. That is the focus of this session also, how we learn from these kind of different sustainable agriculture initiatives across India, and how we can make use of that in forming the best ways to transform India's food system practices. Quickly, now my colleagues will be talking about the work what we do in the three landscape, but let me just focus on the broader approach what we do. So we are thinking of transforming two gram panchayat village councils in three landscapes. That model sustainable and regenerative panchayat. So we have core implementation activity, which is specifically focused on ecosystem service improvement. We have different activities on agronomic practices change, resource conservation activities, and also transforming and adopting into core regenerative agriculture practices. On the other side, I already mentioned the support is needed, and local enterprise creations like BRCs, bioresource centers, and custom hiring centers, because the machinery might change when we are completely moving to sustainable agriculture practice, and different seeds when we use, you understand that we need different kind of machinery, and also have a kind of policy convergence at the local level, so that the project will be moved forward, and that will there will be an ownership from the government. And the second pillar of this specific activity is the supporting system development activity, which is mainly towards the training and capacity building, and building a specific governance structure in the areas where we work, to ensure that there is a smooth coordination between the community, the government, and the other civil society organization. And cross institutional support we already bring, because FOLU is a coalition. We have already for core partners, and we have supporting partners on ground. And in the second phase, when we are moving, we are trying to capture the learnings from other organizations who are working in different parts of India. And the final aspect of this is the monitoring and evaluation. One important aspect in sustainable agriculture is the lack of evidence, lack of large data, which shows that the success is happening. So we have smaller scale examples. So we will be monitoring this at different scales, at the ecosystem level and livelihood improvement level, and also we'll be doing to social auditing, external auditing, to ensure that this transformation is transparent, and the work is more transparent, and it's done in a just way. So with that, I stop. And now my colleagues will be talking on the specific work they are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Soni. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nandini Agarwal from the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, and I will be presenting to you the intervention model that we're building in Sri Satya Sai district of Andhra Pradesh for regenerative agriculture. Before I get into that, a brief introduction about the Council. We're a not-for-profit policy think tank that uses data, integrated analysis, and strategic outreach to transform the quality of life by enabling sustainable finance and international cooperation, among other levers. We're a multidisciplinary team of over 200 professionals with a footprint in 22 states. And currently, we're supporting various ministries for the current G20 presidency. Moving on to our work in Andhra Pradesh, our work is basically focused on two GPs, Uruvoi and Talamarla Vandlapalli. I'm sorry for the very North Indianized pronunciation. These are situated in the Nalacheruvu block of Sri Satya Sai district. Essentially, these are large GPs with a total of 26 hamlets and a population of 6,500. And while most of the farmers are dependent on monsoons for their crops, there are increasing number of farmers that are owning bore wells. In terms of the major crops, in the Kharif season,
major crop is groundnut that is intercropped with red gram. Interestingly, they're also irrigating paddy, but most of the paddy cultivation is for self-consumption or distribution within the community. In the Rabi season, farmers have started to grow tomato, and there is more aspiration to scale up tomato production along with groundnut. Now, given that this is a rain-fed region, the choice of crops as well as current cropping practices both raise serious questions about what it means not just for the ecosystem and water resources in this region, but also for the implications for farmers' livelihoods. Keeping these in mind, my team and I over the last 2 years went and did several forms of surveys, community consultations, and multi-stakeholder consultations to really understand the key challenges for regenerative agriculture in these regions across the 4 themes of livestock, farming systems, water, and livelihood opportunities. Now, in my next slide, I would like to take you through very briefly the intervention model that we have created and how some of the challenges that we heard in our community consultations will be overcome through that model. But before I go into the nuances of the several interventions, I would like to highlight that we're really seeking to create a circular intervention model, which enables creation of local economies that not only create change on the production side, but also on distribution and consumption side, really to achieve 2 key outcomes: to improve ecosystem services and to improve farmers' livelihoods, much as Sony had suggested in his slides. So moving on to our first key intervention on the farm side is the introduction of polycropping systems, which is inspired by Navdhanya, with a combination of border crops and natural mulching. With this, basically the idea is to increase farm diversity and thereby resilience of the farm, but also border crops will increase the shadow zone on the farm, which will also improve the soil moisture retention at the farm level. Now, for such an intervention, we also need solutions that are supporting this intervention both at the farm level and the larger landscape level. So at the farm level, the 2 supporting solutions are silt application and fencing against wild animals. These are basically something that were explicitly said by the community during the consultations to solve current challenges of soil infertility as well as crop protection. At the landscape level, because farms do not function in silos to the landscape, the supporting systems and the solutions that we seek to propose are custom hiring centers and seed savings. These will essentially also provide inputs as well as machinery, both of which are lacking at the community level, especially for small and marginal farmers. Now, at the broader landscape level, we're also seeking to create water user associations with the community groups, which will be responsible for managing water resources and thereby improving the water use efficiency at the community level. They will also be responsible for desilting certain water bodies such as percolation tanks and check dams, which will enable silt application. The final or the next solution that will enable polycropping and regenerative agriculture at community level at large is the availability of bioinputs. So the idea is to create a bioinput facility, again, with an entrepreneurship model, such that those inputs can be made available to the farms who want to practice regenerative agriculture, such as polycropping. Now, where will the inputs come from? Are the collection points built at individual sheds. This brings me to the livestock related interventions that we seek to propose. And in this case, we're really looking at achieving 2 things from the livestock related interventions. 1, improving the health of the livestock through building individual sheds, as well as enabling and strengthening the medical services at the community. And B, providing more healthy fodder and feed. At this point, there is a fodder deficit in the landscape, and there are several interventions that we propose in order to reduce that gap. And these range from cultivation of green fodder on private and fallow lands, as well as agroforestry on common lands. Now, agroforestry will not only provide more fodder, but will also increase the restoration potential for degraded lands, as well as increase the soil organic carbon in this region. In terms of the eco farm ponds, these are essentially structures farm ponds around which farmers can grow water spinach or other grasses such as ajola that will also serve as feed and fodder for the livestock. At the same time, fruit trees such as bananas can be grown that can use the soil moisture around the farm ponds. These will essentially also create a micro ecosystem which will reduce the evaporation of water from farm ponds and thereby increase the water use efficiency in this region. We also seek to introduce hydroponic fodder units in the region, which in collaboration with another team at CEW called Powering Livelihoods. There are successful setups of hydroponic units in other rain-fed areas of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Andhra Pradesh, which we seek to introduce here. Finally, moving away from the production system, we're also introducing decentralized storage and processing units, which will not only enable entrepreneurship at community level for value-added produce, but also further market this produce in surrounding markets of Kadiri and bigger cities of Bengaluru. And finally, also increase self-consumption of these crops, hopefully serving the nutritional security needs of this region. With that, I will conclude my presentation. And for any questions, we can discuss it later or over email. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini. Yeah. So I'm going to present on this our initiative in this Vikarabad landscape, which is it's a district in Telangana. So the basic objective is I'll not spend much time on the descriptive part of it. Is more of interest to you would be the process and what we are aiming at. So more in terms of, as Soni had also explained, the aim is more in terms of how to introduce sustainable and regenerative agricultural practices in these regions so that livelihood, profitability aspect is being taken into account. But also we are trying to look at it from a very wide systems perspective, as we have identified. And not only looking at the, say, crop-centric or that kind of approach, but looking at the value chain approach, and also a more, so to say, a soil-centric and then farmer-centric approach, rather than so to say, crop-centric approach as such, which has been much in the mainstream policy focus. So that's the overall approach and agenda. And the process has been very meticulous in the sense that we have spent a good amount of time in co-creating, co-planning, and co-designing this entire exercise, not at only at the project team end, but also at the community end. So that has been a very fantastic experience altogether. So just to give you a brief background on this landscape, this is typical of the rain-fed farming systems in India, where you have a lot of dependence on agricultural systems, where the majority of the farmers are small and marginal. The income is at the same time low. And also these regions are also witnessing issues of, say, monocropping, where in this region it is double cropping of paddy is being practiced, and there are bore wells which are being installed in this region, and there is heavy drawing of water. And so there is a huge fluctuation in the water table as well, depending on the monsoon and all. So, and this region is also highest cost of production. So this is the more in terms of the map or the landscape where it is situated. It's close to Hyderabad, so that the market is linkage is there. So as I had discussed, the approach had been, we had adopted both a bottom-up more in terms of the field level, farm level survey work and all, and also more in terms of district level planning, using GIS maps and all this in terms of identifying the land use change over the years. Also, we had engaged the village level consultations. We did a number of PRA participatory exercises with the farming community members and also the village council members. We also had a lot of key informant interviews and also in discussion with the government officials over there. Some of the key findings, more in terms of which we had come across out of this study as of now, and based on which we had also devised some interventions related to different verticals, is one aspect was these rain-fed systems. So what happens is these are all crop and livestock were very interconnected, and the livestock component also acted as more in terms of like one sort of resilience building activity, also more in terms of, and also additional income if there is a crop failure and all. So it was a very important component. But over the years, what we have noticed is there's a huge decline in the livestock population. And so we also thought how we could integrate this component in our, when we are talking about the intervention package. Soil management, climatic conditions, water management. I'll not go into the details, but all we have seen is there has been a gradual decline over the years on these systems, and the policy is also more focused towards, say, growing paddy and providing subsidies and more into procurement facilities for that crop. So how we are going to move out of this kind of system when we are talking about this. So we have done some SWOT analysis also, what sort of opportunities exist, what threats exist. So we have identified some of the interventions in that area. We also tried to we didn't want to suggest something very out of the box also. So it has to be very community led also, and the felt need of the communities. So we wanted to discontinue this double cropping of paddy, which is also creating a lot of environmental issues and also policy issues related to double procurement, providing double procurement facility. So how we can encourage system of rice intensification in that when we are talking about kharif rice cultivation, because that's a major area and the extensive thrust of the government is also there. How can more in terms of polycropping of vegetables, because individual farmers are growing there, but how to aggregate them in a cluster and all. Issues of soil health and nutrient management, how it could be improved. So like Nandini has talked about the Jeevamittam unit. So we are trying across this landscape as well. Then quality seed and livestock facilities. So this is more in terms of the plan which we have arrived at. And this is focusing at those interlinkages as well. So it's not siloed approach in that sense. So we are talking about integrating livestock component, the inputs from that feeding into the crops. Then also we are talking about polycropping of vegetables, which is also linked to the nutritional security of the farmers. Then we are talking about green manuring, which is very much essential for when we are talking about soil health and paddy cultivation systems. We are also talking about poultry rearing, because desi poultry is a very high catch there and in high demand, but the farmers are not doing that. So how to develop that as well. So we have identified few plot and like in this. So our focus area is in the 3 gram panchayats, although the usual focus is in the 2 gram panchayats, but we are working in the 3 gram panchayats. And the plan is more in terms of to work on 300 farmers household. And we have also identified few champion farmers there who are already practicing some of these activities which I had mentioned. And we are connecting also with the other organizations over there. So more in terms of when I'm talking about key learning is in sustainable and regenerative agriculture, we need to have that holistic approach instead of individual crop-centric or siloed approach, so to say. And that should cause it's quite obvious, social, economic, and ecological goals. Also, we need to it requires a continuous optimization process, in the sense there are various trade-offs when we are talking about, say, when yield may decline or inputs requirement may have a different kind of system will be needed. So how balancing those trade-offs become very important, and we have assessed more in terms of the cost benefit analysis of this kind of interventions. And so a continuous optimization is very much required. And then also a synergy between the policy, practice, and research is needed. That goes without saying that we need policy support for undertaking this kind of activities. And as we know, it's more of in the federal structure, agriculture being the state subject, you need a lot of support from the state as well as from the district and village level community members. So that's in a nutshell, more in terms of the interventions, and we are looking forward to going in the implementation phase and drawing the learnings. So we have already collected good amount of baseline data, and after the intervention, we are going to assess, and the impact and all we are going to assess and publish. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'll talk a little bit more about one of the other landscapes, which is the Gadchiroli landscape. The deck will come on soon, I assume. Okay, so while the deck comes on board, so we are doing this work. Oh, okay. Good to know. So we're doing this work in collaboration with our partners, Ami Amcha Arogya Sathi, Revitalizing Rainfed Area Network, and of course, Food and Land Use India platform. This project is part of that larger work. And our sort of larger focus is really on people, nature, climate. So even within this particular project, we are really looking at the intersection of issues that are important when we think about, with the climate change that's happening, how, issues around biodiversity, but issue also around livelihoods, but also climate mitigation strategies when we think of it together. I won't stress on this slide. I think Mr. Vijay Kumar very nicely talked about some of the challenges in the Indian context. We know also problems with agricultural land specifically. So, and we also know what some of the, global reports, including the IPCC report, talks about salience of land for mitigation, but also building resilience. The larger focus and the project that I'm talking about, I mean, the partners CEW and TERI are working in southern India. So the work that we are doing is in Maharashtra in Gadchiroli district. It's a slightly different landscape, just in terms of here the production system. I mean, its focus on is agricultural lands, but also on forest lands for sustenance. So you'll see slightly different diversity of interventions as we talk about it as well. But of course, our objective is same in terms of developing a larger sustainable regenerative agriculture plans. And in terms of explaining what we are doing, I mean, the map really tells you which geography where we are in Gadchiroli. We are also working in 2 gram panchayats like our partners. And Gadchiroli really is a ecologically fragile landscape, and almost 70% of the district is actually under forest cover. And 38% of tribal population, almost 70+% of small marginal landholders. So really is, while thinking about strategy for sustainable region ag or a larger landscape level plan for restoration, one really needs to think about what the local socio-economic priorities also are from the region. The methodology that we have adopted for doing this is a popular methodology called Restoration Opportunity Assessment Methodology, or ROAM, which has primarily been used till now for more tree-based restoration interventions. We have because it's a global tool, we adapted it in the Indian context, in context of Madhya Pradesh and one of the districts, Siddhi, where we looked at, key issues around governance, multiple ecosystem services, livelihoods, etc. That is crucial. In this particular project, we have further adapted it for the agricultural context. And as sort of the ROAM essentially talks about, key issues that we need to consider. It's a very iterative, adaptive method, very consultative. So focusing on steps around, for instance, preparation and planning. How do we think about data collection and analysis? How do we think about results and recommendations? Doing it in a step-by-step way. So what are the key sort of components that we've focused on in Gadchiroli? We have a lot of focus around, how do we really map what are the potential interventions for the entire landscape, and looking at the entire land use and land ownership. So what should be done in agricultural areas, but also on common lands. There are a lot of community forest resource rights that have been recognized in Gadchiroli and the 2 gram sabhas that we are working in. So looking at what really is the demand emerging there, looking at ecosystem service analysis specifically, which Soni, I think, mentioned very clearly in the project objectives as well. So what are the ecosystem service priorities that are coming? Thinking about enabling conditions, barriers, challenges, but of course the social landscape. It's very important to think about actor priorities and how, which networks are important when we talk about planning. And of course, thinking about the cost, it's also very, I won't get into the details of, how we did that, but we had surveys, we did multiple consultations at district, block, as well as Gram Sabha level. So there's a mix of things that we did, but essentially to really identify the key land use challenges. And there are few buckets that become important to look at. One is, of course, around monocropping. There's a lot of rice monocropping in the area in terms of inefficient water resource utilization, specifically for paddy. We also see a lot of soil degradation in the region, sheet erosion, a lot of nitrogen deficient soil, agricultural lands, one of the big problems, but also over-reliance reliance on chemical fertilizers, especially in the area. This is also fragile because next to forest area. So we had to really think through in terms of how we are thinking about interventions when we identify potentially with local communities. Livestock management, of course, emerged as a big one. There is traditionally a practice of open grazing in this region as well, which leads to crops being damaged by livestock. So what sort of intervention one can think of for that becomes important. Water scarcity is an issue in terms of surface runoff post monsoon in parts which needs to look at. And of course, although it's heavily forested area, there is over-reliance dependence on NTFPs or non-timber forest produce. So how does one think about sustainability and think about loss of biodiversity, working with the local biodiversity management committees and our communities getting the best price for the NTFP? So there's a whole sort of issue that sort of come in. But I think this is really the crux, which is also very important to kind of talk about on how we are really planning the intervention. And I'll again emphasize what Sony said in terms of when this project starts getting implemented, these will be the 3 dots, and the dots are the farm level. Essentially, if I start from the inside, we are starting with farm level, looking at what would happen in terms of sustainable regenerative agriculture in that entire landscape, thinking of pilot plots, working with men and women farmers. A cluster is a continuous area within a village. So what we are doing in that cluster of Gram Sabha and what really happens there, operationalizing it one level further at the Gram Panchayat. And of course, eventually, if we have to scale, we have to think about block, district. So you will also see that we're trying to do a mix of top down, bottom up, at least in the maps, some of the maps that you'll see. But really the level of interventions are important. If we want to really say we want to transform agriculture from a more bottom up way, then how some of this change starts from the farm, but goes up from that side. Just a snapshot in terms of the different interventions we've been sort of, thinking. And a lot of this obviously came from validation with local communities based on their priorities, the land use challenges they identified. And we bucketed it essentially into 4 sort of themes. One is specifically around agriculture, where issues around fodder, issues around, how do we do more water efficient paddy, or thinking about enhancing crop intensity and diversity through additional pulse oil seed. So having a bit more diversity within the cropping system, thinking about vegetables, thinking about nutri gardens, a very important one in context of Gadchiroli, just from a nutritional security and resilience perspective as well. Agri-hortiforestry, as well as integrated nutrient and pest management, especially because, as I said earlier, a lot of these agricultural lands are next to forest lands. So how do we also maintain the larger agri biodiversity becomes important in forest areas, because here, as I was saying, the Gram Sabhas, the rights under Forest Rights Act, the Community Forest Resource Rights have been recognized. So planning with the Gram Sabhas for the CFR areas is something which we looked at specifically. So in terms of, augmenting with through assisted natural regeneration, or bamboo came up as a big one in some of the discussions we had. Silver pasture again was a big one, of course, and how do we sort of plan for building nurseries? Water conservation, of course, is a big one in terms of how we think about creation and excavation of water harvesting structures, desiltation, etc. And as our,
Green Revolution. The whole backward system streamlining, a farmer can just call to a agricultural university or a KVK, find solution for a pest infection, go to the nearby shop and get access to chemical and spray it and finish it off. That reduces the labor, the drudgery of a farmer. So this has been created by that system, the Green Revolution system. We are trying to learn from that as well. So what we are trying to say again is, when we are formulating the National Mission for Natural Farming and moving forward, we have to keep in mind there's nothing should drastically change or keep in a totally different twist. Rather, we need to find it as a slow progression into a better way of producing, distributing, and consuming food. And that's a message we have to take when we are thinking about larger food system transformation. So this is the objective. This is only 2 examples. There are hundreds of examples available in this country. Somebody has to sit and bring these examples together to gain the power to move forward. That's a message what we are trying to give out to this session. So I would like to open this for a brief question answer. If there are certain pressing questions here, our initial panelists are also there. They can also answer. Not me, of course, I'm not an expert. So not better to, I think. So then I will hand over better for them. Yes, please.
Hello. Hi. Thanks a lot for the interesting presentations. My name is Ashwin Selvaraj, and I work for an organization called Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil. We are a global voluntary standard for sustainable cultivation of oil palm and consumption of oil palm. So my question is, when you're thinking about, particularly because in Telangana and Andhra, there's a lot of shift of land use from rice paddy into oil palm. Is that future risk taken into account in the land use planning? Is that taken into account as part of the coalition? And is there commitment from some directions or from the local governments about the land use? Because if that is not taken into account, then the efforts might be a challenge. And as follow-up, is there a role for voluntary standards or certification schemes like us to join this kind of activities?
I would like to hand over that question to Rujika, but before that, we were just interacting with the Telangana commissioner, and the answer the government told us was that just 20 million out of 100 million, right? It's only getting converted. It's not a drastic change, but I know Rujika has conducted better answer, someone answer quickly, and the more discussions can. Anyway, whoever.
So I would like to answer in the sense, like, thankfully it's not being implemented in the area which we are working, the landscape which we are working, but our interactions with the government has alluded us to the point that they are pushing it very vehemently in the region and seeing it as an opportunity as well. But obviously the checks and balances, that kind of stuff, I'm not sure, very much sure about that, but there's a huge policy thrust. I would like to say only that much. But in our landscape, thankfully, it is not being there. So it's so that's the case.
Yes, your hand was. I saw a second. Sorry. Huh?
Hi, I'm from Satwa. So my question is twofold. One is that we recently conducted a workshop in regenerative agriculture in Mumbai, and there were people from Britannia and Olam and Eco, and we just asked a basic question: what do you mean by regenerative agriculture? And I kid you not, there were 10 different definitions, right? There is no common vocabulary. There is no common understanding of what are we calling regenerative agriculture. And that primarily stems from the idea that regenerative agriculture is basically based on principles and processes, right? There are broadly 6, there could be others, but there's soil regeneration, there's water cycle improvement, there's biodiversity, XYZ. So do we have that common protocols and vocabulary to define what is regenerative agriculture? That's number one. And second, we don't have enough bottom-up evidence to prove the efficacy and benefits of regenerative agriculture. I'm glad we have seen some today, but can we have some sort of a common repository of these bottom-up evidence to prove that this works? Because farmers have a conventional bias towards conventional farming. Why would they move to regenerative agriculture? Do we have enabling ecosystem to promote that? Thank you.
I can quickly answer it and then give it to someone. Like, the point is, you are right. There are too much different kind of a definition. And those globally, those people who are working on regenerative agriculture is also working on that in a way like, and finally, during a couple of months ago, we were discussing about it. And what we understood is the charm of regenerative agriculture is this: too much of regional specific definition about how your nature, your agriculture ecosystem can be regenerated, rather than like green revolution, you have a prescription, like apply this pesticide 3 times, during the cycle. So this is not prescriptive. This is actually a little, bottom to top. And there are, I don't know, like, FOLU is very much involved in a global program called Region 10, which IUCN, FOLU and Meridian Institute is catering. And what we are trying to work out is create a large database about how regenerative agriculture practices work all across the world. So not to develop any prescription, but to really depict the diversity of these definitions and practices. And your second part is evidences. Yeah, rare. Even we are looking for evidences, trying to create evidences. Right. UN.
Hi, I'm Kaustav Chakrabarti, and I've been working in the field of food systems for the last 10 years at least. Just want to have a quick question on for the FOLU team. Thank you for the lovely presentation. The question is that someone, I think Nandini presented that at the landscape level, you are trying to provide solar fencing and to benefit the farmers from wildlife conflict, right? So how is it happening? What is the level of convergence that you're doing with the government at the local level or maybe at the state level? And the project is also being implemented in Andhra Pradesh. So I wanted to know if there is any overlap with APCNF, Andhra Pradesh Community Natural Farming. So yeah, those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. So in terms of solar fencing, farmers are currently already using some form of sonar equipment and sound equipment, which is not enough. In the recent years, there is more intrusion of wild animals into the farms. And we are testing these solar fencing equipment out in the given 2 GPs. In terms of conversions with the local government, we are in conversations with the state, with the block officials as well, but we're still in the process of seeing how we can actually make conversions possible, because it's not just about one intervention, but it's really about a holistic solution and seeing how we can improve crop resilience and farm resilience. So just talking about solar fencing will not suffice, but really a package of interventions that we would create, which is what we presented at this point.
My question was more predominantly about where the funding for solar fencing coming from, because that's a huge bulk of money.
Right.
The project provides it, or the local government or the farmers who are able to.
So when we presented, we're also talking about solar equipment, so sound equipment, but also about border crops. So in the presentation, along with polycropping, border crops and natural mulching, we're also looking at border crops as one of the potential preventative mechanisms where the wildlife or other sort of pests would then be going to those border crops rather than, so we're not only relying on one fencing mechanism also, that's important to understand. Yeah.
So I have a question related to NTFP. Like, we are talking about going to the indigenous communities and identifying those cultures. So they are those communities who are consuming like mahua based oil, sal seed based oil, karanj oil. So when we introduced the National Oilseed Mission, we were going into planting the palm trees in Andaman area and coastal states. So why aren't we going into identifying those mahua oil? Because they have a medicinal benefits more than the olive oil. Is the other countries have been exporting to India.
So I think as far as Gadchiroli is concerned, let me tell you, the Gram Sabhas in Gadchiroli are very strong. So with the community forest rights have been recognized, one of the few, well, now we have some more, areas where CFR rights have been recognized under Forest Rights Act. So, they're already managing a lot of non-timber forest produce for different ways. So essentially, I think and mahua is, yes, used in food in diverse ways already in the diet. But I think one of the things that, during the discussion that came up was maybe oilseed, different, also looking at diversity within that. So this came from discussion within that on how we can do it. So it's not just, we're trying to do it without looking at what the local communities are looking for. Because Mahua can be used for multiple things, right? So why stick to only one?
Hello, everyone. My name is Deepak Suryavanshi. Yes. So, is there any way for a sustainable? Yes. Is there any way for sustainable? Is there any way? Is there any option? Sustainable storage and transport of the farm product.
Anyone from the NIBIO team would like to take that from your experience?
A sustainable way or sustainable option from for the transport and the store of the farm product.
Dr. Rengalakshmi.
Especially in Ganjam district, we had a thing. At that point of time, we introduced zero energy cool chamber as a kind of an in-between solution for the farmers, especially smallholders. And since the cost also we considered, it comes around 40,000 rupees. So managing by the individual household, it would be very difficult. So as a kind of a common facility under FPO, we facilitated that program. It's working well, but still the farmers who are far off from that facility, they find difficult to access it. So again, the transport from the center to market, it takes time, more labor. Associated cost also we need to consider. So farmers' use of such facilities, we need to think.
Cost as well as the carbon footprint. So both are the major aspects in that.
Agree. Your question, please.
Myself, Vipin from Koshak Library. My question is that when we are doing a AWSD, so to attract the farmer on this technology from shifting from the conventional method, is there any method where you are doing some finance for them or some, what is the method to attract them?
So I think Gadchiroli that way is unique. There is already a climate finance project going on where alternate wetting and drying, almost, if I remember correctly, 11,000 farmers or 1,100 farmers, I need to check the number, they have been doing, and there is climate finance following for it. How we will finance for our project for implementation is, I think, a conversation we are currently having. As I think that is the next phase conversation for us. We will explore climate finance, but maybe other sort of possibilities as well. So, but it is already happening in the district, just to kind of give you an idea at large scale. So adoption, potentially is easier.
And I have supplement question, because when we are talking about the carbon finance, already where I have denied that again there all project for carbon finance. Yeah.
Sorry, what has Vera done?
Vera have stopped this type of technology, means they have stopped all the project to generate the finance from the carbon credits for AWSD projects.
Who stopped?
Vera is the organization.
Well, I'll have to look at that. As I said, we will explore how we'll do it, but I know Gadchiroli has an ongoing example. I'm not up to speed on whether the AWD work there has been stopped, but last we checked, it wasn't. Yeah.
AWD is there, but when we are talking about the carbon finance, I'm talking about that.
Yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is, last we sort of went there, it was working. So I will have to relook at if things have changed.
We will. From Folu side, we would like to know a little more about it, because we have recently initiated a program to create an NCS, a nature climate solution based platform. And what we have identified is, as far as India is concerned, when you are moving into sustainable agriculture practices, there is a lot of emission reduction happening. So adaptation measures have a lot of mitigation impacts. So we want to capitalize those mitigation impacts, again, financing the same farmers who are getting into that transformation. So if that kind of a situation, Parul is someone who is dealing with that project. So please get in touch with us and we would like to know more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Anuj and I work with Harvest Plus, a part of IFPRI. So my question is to ma'am, is that when you're doing so much of knowledge transformation using digital tools, how have you overcome the challenge of low bandwidth of internet, number one, smartphone penetration, and low level of literacy? And there's a second question. it's very exciting to see that a lot of community-based research and participatory techniques have been used. Like, did you come across any findings which really surprised you? It should not be there. Because when we are doing community-based activities, there are certain things which are happening as per our own thinking. So anything which came out which really surprised you?
Dr. Anka, I think it's you.
Yeah, in the rural areas right now where we are working, in one place we had good connectivity and Ganjam district. But when we come to Cuttack, the issue was there. So where we promoted tools like video-based learning, it's a kind of an offline tools have been deployed in that context. Depending upon the local situation, we use tools, and some of the helpline services are audio advisory. Those things, simple mobile applications are enough. So depending upon the context, we use the tools. And the second question regarding the literacy, again, it is a collective learning where we are facilitating. And after seeing video, after getting messages, we ask them to discuss those learnings in the group. And the facilitation process help them to understand and slowly build up the social skills to demand information and practice further. So it's an intensive process.
Thanks, Doctor. Last question. Brief.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anchal and I'm pursuing MSc in Development Communication and Extension from Lady Haven College. So my question is, what are the challenges in adopting organic farming by farmers?
Anyone? You want to take it? Only 2 minutes.
So you were talking about the working with the community and then what surprises, right? Yeah. Yeah. No. So the experience what we got, especially in the Vikarabad landscape in Telangana. So when we work with community, we obviously go with a lot of impressions, like you said, but they are well aware of the fact that there is a need to shift. And they have started teaching also what are the problems in the existing practices, what they are doing, and there is a momentum to shift. So when we are making our planning and asking how, who all we need to enroll and so on, community has started teaching us how we should be selecting the landscape, because the higher altitude landscape should not go to the lower altitude, so that the leaching issue, because some people will be practicing using pesticide and agrochemicals in other areas. So this has been translated to us, and which is basically it's there in our thinking, but it's a learning for us in general, and which is we underestimate that people are not ready to transform, and they are ready for that. This is one thing, and yeah, that's.
Thanks, Son.
Thank you.
Just I think let me take from our 80 villages surveyed experience in Madhya Pradesh. We have concluded major 4 issues. One is the yield compromise, the doubt about the yield compromise. Second is the backward services, from where they are going to get the services. Third is the knowledge. And the fourth one is basically how they are going to push most of their producers into the market. So backward linkages, forward linkages, knowledge, and the facilities. These are the major concerns. I request
Thank you to all our speakers and delegates for this interesting and insightful session. I would now request Ms. Bete to please address the session and deliver a vote of thanks.
Thank you. There Martina, she has left, but also there Vijay Kumar. And thanks to Fulu and to the Resilience partners for interesting presentations and discussions. And I'm happy that we had time for discussions as well. Fulu has highlighted the sense of urgency that India must transform in food and land use systems. And we also see that all the work that both the Resilience Project and the Fulu Project is doing is really important. And it also shows that there's a long way to go. And you said you have to take small steps for the transition, but the steps you have to take. I will try to be short.
But as mentioned several times, also the focus on women farmers is crucial for successful results. So I also want to mention that particularly. And I was impressed that you're improving the negotiation skills for the women. And if you have some space for me, please, I would also like to improve my skills. So we also see that the climate change, the agriculture is both a part of the solution and also part of the problem with the climate change. And you all know that it's important that we can do climate-friendly, sustainable agriculture. And I think this is the way forward to do all these small projects with small farmers and to scale up. The scale up has been mentioned several times, so that is really good, I think. And the way forward, I think all this like kind of planting a seed that can grow. And I think this has been a good start for maybe more cooperation and also to increase the competence and the knowledge of people, and also to make maybe new contacts today. Also, I want to give a special thanks to Hari and Sonia and his team for taking this challenge that we just throw on them. But could you please make a session on this WSDS to connect these two projects? So thank you for that. So thank you all.